It was more just about like, we're going to win this game. We just got to do more running to do it now. So
Hello, everybody. I am so thrilled to have today's guest here just after her thrilling, historic playoff win. She is a dependable, persistent midfielder who has somehow just unlocked a new level in her fourth year in the NWSL. She's a player who is writing a new story for herself and her team with each and every game. It's Gotham FC's own Jaelin Howell. Jaelin, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
This episode of Friendlies is brought to you by Verizon, a proud supporter of the global game and the players who inspire us on and off the pitch. Think the best 5G network is expensive? Think again. Bring in your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to your local Verizon store and they'll give you a better deal. That's right. The best 5G network has you covered with the most ways to save on plans, streaming, and phone deals. More reasons to save, more reasons to switch. So bring your bill to Verizon today and get a better deal. Rankings based on Root Metrics Root Score report dated first half 2025. Your results may vary. Must provide a post-paid consumer mobile bill dated within the past 45 days. Bill must be in the same name as the person redeeming the bill. All right, everybody. Here is Gotham's Jaelin Howell. I'm so excited to chat. You and Gotham have just pulled off the most insane upset, beating the Kansas City Current at home to get to the semifinals of the NWSL playoffs. In just one word, how do you feel?
Excited.
I was like, what's she going to say? Busy, going from one thing to another, but excited works.
We knew we could do it. I think everybody had their doubts, obviously. And for us, we just knew we had to have the belief that we could do it. So going in, I just knew, like, everyone was just, like, locked in. You could tell, like, in the locker room, everyone just knew we had to fight for each other. And so after is just this excitement because there was no doubts in the team's mind. So it's just always exciting when you can put everything together and when the mentality before the game translates on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think there is something really special about your Gotham team this year, and hearing that you had that feeling of being locked in, that's something that you can't really like prepare for. You can't really predict if you're going to have it or not. Like when you're on a winning team in playoffs, it is just this feeling. And so I am so excited to hear that you guys have it. I am going to be cheering for you. I think part of what made this win so incredible, it wasn't just that Kansas City had this record-breaking dominant season. It was a special win because of Gotham's journey as well. So I want to rewind a little bit to the way this team came into the season. Gotham had a big shakeup last offseason. Some power players like Lynn Biondolo, Crystal Dunn, and Yasmin Ryan all parted ways with the team. But Gotham brought in a lot of new players, including some exciting rookies, Brazilian Gabby Portillo, and you, Jaelin. You joined the team from the Seattle Reign. Can you talk to me a little bit about what it was that attracted you to Gotham last season?
Honestly, I've been a fan of Gotham for a couple years. And I honestly knew eventually I had always wanted to come to Gotham. And so when I was already in that transition, obviously the trade to Seattle, I was like, why not now? I love their style of play. They're obviously winners. There's great players on the team, world-class players, and that I wanted to play with. And so coming in, like, exceeded my expectations, honestly, just in terms of I've never got to consistently play with world-class players like Sonnet and Rose and Jess and Anne, and what I'm able to learn from them day to day is just insane. And I'm so grateful for it and how much I've grown as a player. And just honestly, even like, I mean, like Sonnet's soccer brain is like insane. Like I just like love like listening to her no matter like on the field, off the field. So it's just been so huge for me this season being able to play with players like that and learn from them.
That is so amazing to hear. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Sonnet, and I feel like you guys positionally are working really closely together with you playing in that kind of deep defensive midfield position, her right behind you as a center back. This is the third NWSL team that you've been a part of. Started your career at Racing Louisville. You were drafted there second overall in 2022. And since then, I feel like you've been really building back up to having a big year, which was this year. When you think back to the beginning of 2025, what did you personally want to accomplish with Gotham?
I've had a lot of ups and downs in the league. Obviously, before that, I was injured a lot. I was on a brand new team that was building, and I was trying to help build their club. I was a really young captain. So it was a lot of pressure for me, but I think through that process, I really learned a lot about myself as a player and a person and a leader. And so I want to take any of that back, just the adversities that I had to go through and grow from. So this season, coming into it, I first of all just wanted a healthy season. I was like, I just need to stay on the field. That's going to give me the best shot to be consistent. And the medical staff here in Gotham has just done an amazing job at managing that. And I'm at a club that really values that. And so that's been huge for me. I knew I always had the potential to make a big impact in the league. And I just wanted to live up to that this year by staying healthy and knowing, what I'm capable of on the field and performing that each and every day. So for me, it was just one game at a time, one practice at a time, learning as much as I could from the players around me, the coaches, soaking it all up so that each day I perform better and better.
You can just tell that you have such experience in the league, and what you have brought to this Gotham team this year has been so noticeable. And I have really, really enjoyed watching you play. I'm curious, when you think back to preseason, your kind of introduction to this team, to a new club. The team spent a lot of preseason in Spain. And I know that sometimes those trips can feel really long, but they're also like kind of this supercharged way to get to know everybody, to forge your team identity. You're on the road together. But when the season actually kicked off, Gotham actually struggled at the beginning, something that was made even worse by Tierna Davidson suffering a season-ending injury just 3 games in. And it felt kind of like, Tierna's injury on top of the tough start, it was a little bit worrying. And I want to know, from inside your locker room, how did the team handle, whether it was maybe doubt from the outside or even doubt inside? Like, how did you guys handle that kind of adversity at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I think that's what makes this team so special. We have a great culture, and that's something that the club had set out to have at the beginning of the season. Obviously, like you said, in Spain, spending that much time together, that really brought us close. And I think that trip did a lot for us. When we were struggling here and there, we had to really lean on our culture and our experience. And we have just that. I mean, we have so many experienced players that have played the highest of levels in the Euros and the women's national team. And so really leaning on them. And then our rookies have just been unbelievable too. Just the maturity they've shown and what they've brought has also been amazing. So we just had honestly, a good group of girls, a good mix, and the culture has been great. Like, even in the tough times, we never really came apart. The team stuck together. And I think that's kind of what brought us to this point. That's what brought us, even though we were 8th seed, we were like, we can do this because we all believed in each other. We all stuck together throughout the whole season. We had so many games, the CONCACAF games, the travel. We just had a really tough year. And for us to stick together, we knew that we had to, honestly, to be able to get to this point. And so I credit a lot of that to just our team culture and the players that we have.
Yeah, I love that. I think sometimes those moments, like, I remember what this is like. You feel like you're constantly on the road. Sometimes the results don't match how you played. Maybe there's doubt from the outside, but all that really does for a team with good culture is like forge a new strength. And it sounds like that's exactly what's happening at Gotham. You've mentioned this already a few times, but your team has world-class players who are leaders for their teams at the international level as well. Anne-Catherine Berger, Jess Carter, Esther Brunina, Josephine Hasbo, Jace, and of course, Rose Lavelle, Emily Sonnet. How do you think that kind of experience and leadership has helped Gotham stay consistent during all the ups and downs of the year?
All these players have been in really similar situations at the highest of levels. So there was no panic for us. I think throughout the season, everybody knew the talent that we had and knew what we were capable of. So we just knew we had to reach that potential. And I think we're honestly still chasing that. Having those experienced players and those players that have played in the highest pressure situations, when it came down to it, we're able to settle the team down and bring everybody in. And like I said, I've just learned so much from it. Even Tierna, obviously being out, but just her leadership and what she's able to do, even not on the field, learning from her and how she brings the group together. I just think we have a really good group of people that really care about each other as well. So I think when you bring all of that together, we can do anything. And that's why we know that, ultimately we can win this league. And I think we truly believe that. And we truly believe that, like I said, before Kansas City. And so just a huge credit to all of our players and the experience they have and keeping everybody together.
I think even going back to kind of the beginning of your season where things didn't get off to the best start, Then in May, you guys won the inaugural CONCACAF W Champions Cup. That's a tournament that saw you guys playing teams from all over our confederation. In the final, you took on Liga MX Giants Tigres. And, you've mentioned this, you're traveling a lot, there's extra games. I think from the outside, there was actually a question of like, can these extra games help get a team back on track and gain confidence, or will they exhaust them and distract them from the NWSL play? Can you just talk about your experience in the Champions Cup and kind of what that winning the whole tournament did for your Gotham team?
It's a lot of games, it's a lot of travel. It's a lot of extra wear and tear. And I think that's just some of the adversity that we've had to grind through together as a team. So it's kind of brought us closer in a way. Winning a championship as a team middle of the season, I think really helps morale. It helps, just envisioning the end of the year doing it together. I honestly do think it really helped us just get in the championship mentality and playing in a final, feeling that and replicating it in big, intense games against good teams. And so I do think that part of it really helped us in the long run.
Yeah, I do too. I think, clearly having that opportunity to compete for a trophy mid-season, I think it does kind of light something inside the team that's like, this is the intensity that we have to be playing at. I also think something that helped was Rose Lavelle returning from injury after she spent the first half of the season injured. And obviously, everybody who watches Rose play loves watching her play, but she's a fellow midfielder. You're in there with her. You're watching her day in and day out. Sometimes I think Rose Lavelle in practice is even more amazing than Rose Lavelle in a game. And I actually want I try to describe this every time I talk about Rose on here, but I want you to try to describe what it's like as a midfielder, having Rose Lavelle as your teammate.
I mean, it's incredible. Like, I knew she was good, obviously incredible coming in, and then I was bummed when she's hurt because I wanted to play with her. But then when she came back in, I mean, like you said, like practice, like you just like, it's mind blowing. You don't realize like how good she is until you're playing with her spacing, just how smart she is. Like, she makes everybody else around her better. And that's what I've really appreciated. And I feel like she's done a great job with me and helping me learn and grow in the middle. I mean, it's like I get on the ball and I immediately look up and I'm like, where's Rose in the middle? So I can give her the ball. But more than that, like, honestly, Rose is just such a good teammate in person. And I think that's what people need to realize too, and how she like builds people up and what she does for team culture. And she's an incredible player on the field. But just also, I think who she is off the field is what I've really come to realize, and what a leader she is, and just what a great person she is. And so I'm really thankful that I'm able to play with her. And like I said, just learn from her, either her, teaching me, talking to me, or just like watching her. Like, it's just like, it's incredible.
I know. I am so happy for you that you just get to play with her, because it's the best, but playing against her is like literally the worst. And I've done both. And Rose is so good. I know we agree about that. So we spoke a little bit earlier. You've been in the league for a few years now. You've played for a few teams, but you scored your first NWSL goal in June of this year with Gotham. It was a really confident long run and just such a direct hit. It was like we were sure it was going in before you even shot it. And you looked so happy. Can you talk to us a little bit about that moment and what it meant to score for this team?
Obviously, I think I've found my place where I belong, and I think I felt that even in preseason. And I think just the belief that the coaches have in me, it's something that I feel like I'm really, for the first time, experiencing in the league, where Juan and the rest of the coaching staff have just to have this belief to help me get to my goals. And so that's just been a huge difference maker for me, and the time and the effort that they put in to make sure I'm prepared, to make sure I'm getting all the extra reps, extra film. And so that's been a huge, huge difference for me. So part of that, I mean, I was playing the 8 for part of the season, and Juan was, so always told me, he's like, you have a great score, just like this belief in me that gave me the confidence. It took me a while, but in the games in mid-season to finally score. And I just remember him being like so happy. And I think that's when I started to truly like be like, all right, like I can score, like I'm going to score. And
now you're a goal scoring machine.
Yeah. So it did give me the confidence. I knew I kept telling him, like, I just need one to fall, and then I know like I can get more, but it just was like breaking the ice on the first one. Just a lot of credit to that, me being able to play free on the field has just been huge this year.
You also chose to extend your contract with Gotham, and talking to you now, it doesn't sound like that was even like up for debate at all. I love hearing you talk about your relationship with your head coach Juan and how, you know, him instilling confidence in you has really helped you to, again, just have this incredible season. Was there any one specific moment where you realized, well, it could have been in preseason, that this was the right place for you? You want to keep building your career with Gotham?
Honestly, even like first couple practices, just the level, like the players I was playing with, I was like, this is so like I'm pushed every day. Like I love it. Like I'm learning. But also just the conversations I had with Juan in the preseason, him wanting to know my goals and him believing in me that I can get to those goals was huge. And him continuing to have conversations. You know, I just like, I have an experience in the league. And so I want to play for a coach like that and play for somebody that obviously cares so much and believes in so much and believes that I can do what I want to do. And so I think it really started in the preseason when we had those meetings and set out goals for the year.
It feels like it makes so much sense when a player kind of arrives in the environment that is best for them. And we've just seen that from you all season. I do think with Gotham, I keep alluding to this, you've been through some ups and downs. The team, of course, on paper is one of, if not the best team in the league. You guys have such an incredible roster. Sometimes this season, the results didn't reflect the great football that you were playing, or maybe we would just see a version of the team show up that just didn't get it done on that day. And I'm curious for you, if you feel like now this team that's going into the semifinals of the NWSL playoffs, is it the same team that you met in preseason? Is it the same kind of feeling at the core, or do you actually feel like you guys have kind of gone through a transformation and now you're kind of this like new team?
Deep down, we always knew we were this great team with a great roster that could win it all, and we knew our potential. But I also think having some of those adversities throughout the year has actually worked to our advantage because we've had to gut some games out. We had to grind it out. We had to look in the mirror after games we should have won. We play great soccer and don't get the result. Like, how do we get the result? So I think those ups and downs have actually really helped us in this process. And now I think going into playoffs, having a huge upset, I think now it's even more so kind of like this transformation, like you said, where it's like, we can do this. And, you know, we have this belief that we're going to do it. And we always did. But I think all those little adversities kind of built us and gave us those experiences where it's like, we've seen everything. We know how to overcome it. So then going into playoff games, we know that we've seen it all, and we know that we have to lean on each other, and that's what we've done throughout the season. So nothing's going to be new for us in these games.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think, you know, as much as the ups and downs can strengthen you, I do think it sounds like there has been this core belief within the team all along. Obviously, nobody was surprised that this team made the playoffs, but I think what was surprising was just that the chaos of the last couple of weeks and the points and decision day and 3 through 8 was so close. So on decision day, Gotham slid from 4th to 8th place, just above the playoff line. And, you know, now we're kind of going to go through this Kansas City game a little bit beat by beat. Obviously, Kansas City was the first seed, so now Gotham has to go into CPKC Stadium. Gotham had actually never beaten the Kansas City Current. I want to know, when you realize you're in 8th, you're going to Kansas City, you're playing the number 1 team, the team that, you know, people are talking about the Kansas City Current. People are saying they're going to win the championship. They won the Shield 7 weeks ago. I believe that you guys were like, no, we've got it. But I want to know what your approach to the game was inside your locker room. How were you guys talking about this game?
Honestly, when we slid to 8th, I think that we were just pissed. Like, we were like, this doesn't reflect us as a team. This isn't us. You know, we felt like we kind of did it to ourselves and it wasn't a reflection of us. So I think that really fueled us, honestly, in North Carolina. That was probably one of our worst games. And I think it honestly ended up fueling us to go into Kansas City. When we knew we were going to Kansas City, obviously we know they're an incredible team with an incredible roster and they've had an amazing season. But I don't think anybody skipped a beat. I think we're going to do this. I think we know us as a team, we actually do better playing against really good teams under pressure. And we're like, we might need to fix that. Like, you know, if we're playing middle of the table, bottom of the table, like we don't show up as well, I feel like. So I think we also have this confidence, like when we need to show up, we do. And that's what we just kept saying. And we're like, you know what, it's either we're playing them first round or, maybe in the final. So it's like, let's get
Yeah,
them out
gotta beat
now.
them eventually.
Yeah, we're like, we gotta beat everybody. So we're like, may as well do it now. It was just laser focus throughout the whole week, getting all the little details right. Obviously, I'd been playing them twice earlier in the year, so I think for us it was helpful in that sense to tweak the adjustments that we needed to. The main part was just the mentality. Like, I think everybody, we were the underdogs in that game, but we didn't feel like it. We felt like on the day we were going to be the better team, and I think that was the biggest part for us, was the mentality going into that game, and I think that's ended up being the biggest difference for us.
Kind of alluded to this idea of like, there were games this season that the version of Gotham that is amazing and capable of beating Kansas City didn't show up every game. Is there something that you notice in the locker room, on the field, during warmups, at the beginning of the game, that you're like, oh, we're on today, like this is going to be our day? Is there any detail that you can sense?
Our team's really fun and goofballs, and we love that part of it. But like before that game, a lot of the time players were like sitting at their own lockers, a little more quiet, like just, I think, very focused on what each person had to do to help the team that day. And I think that's when we play at our best, is what can I do individually to help the team? What can I do at my best to help the team? And then like having each other's backs. Like I think we didn't, on the field, like somebody gave a pass away, something didn't go our way, like it was an immediate reaction. And I think that's a big difference for us in the games that we play really well or don't play well in. And so I think, obviously going against Kansas City too, we had to put all the pieces together. Like we knew we had to.
Yeah.
And for us, it was definitely just that piece, and what did each individual person need to do at their best at the day.
The other thing about the Kansas City game that I do want to reference really quickly, because I am like not prepared for winter, is how cold it seemed. I heard it was like freezing. They kept panning to Esther on the bench and she was all bundled up. I am not ready for this. Were you guys like shocked that it was that cold? Like, or were you prepared? Like, did the cold play a factor at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was really cold. Like
it looked so cold.
We were, it was, and we like knew going into that game, like we're like, it's like the one day of the week, it's going to be freezing there. Like, of course. And so, like, we were mentally prepared, but we go out there, and it was like, I mean, it was a shock because it hasn't been that cold here, even in New Jersey. So for us, it was like, it just kept adding adversity, and it just kept fueling our fire. Like, it is a freezing cold game. We're away. We're at KC. They, have only lost at home one time. First seed for safety. Like, I think all of this stuff, we were just like, it was stacked against us, and we were just like, embracing that. And so I think that was the other part of it. It was just like everything about that game was hard. And I think we knew that, and we knew we had to be at our best. So I think that's ultimately in the end why we had that mentality.
Yeah. And I think to hear you list off all those things, it's like, yeah, you guys were like up against literally the world. And I think one of the moments that really put the whole game into like question for me, when I was like, oh my God, anything could happen in this game. It was early on in the game. Ali Sentnor took this really great shot from just outside the 18, and your goalkeeper, Anne-Katrin Berger, made an incredible save, deflected it out. And I feel like that was like a pretty pivotal moment for Gotham to be like, one, we have Anne-Katrin Berger in goal, which try getting a shot past her. But it was kind of just this momentum of like, nope, like we're here. You're not going to score that easily. I'm curious if you remember that moment specifically as a moment of like your team kind of coming together around Anne's save.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what it was, honestly. It wasn't this moment where we were like, oh my gosh, like on our heels when Anne made that save. Like I don't know if it's shown in the broadcast, but we literally all went up, gave her fist bumps. Like we're in this, like we're in it, and it's not going to be that easy for you guys. And so I think you're right. It was this moment of like us just coming together. And I mean, Anne had an incredible game, as she normally always does. And so having her back there, brick wall Burger, it's so nice for the rest of us and the defenders, just knowing that you have that behind you.
It was such an incredible save. Like I can see it so clearly in my mind. That was a huge moment of the game for me. And then obviously in the 68th minute, Jaden Shaw scores this massive goal to put you guys up 1-0. And it looked like that was going to be it until Kansas City gets a goal back in stoppage time, sends you into overtime. When you are now just at the last minute of the game, now you have to go into overtime. You thought you had it. They score this goal. Maybe the momentum shifts. I'm sure it was wicked loud in CPKC Stadium. What is the team conversation like in that break? Right after they score a goal, now you have this brief minute to talk before you head out into 2 more 15-minute periods, which is just so long. Who's talking? What messages did you receive? What was like the morale like?
First, it's going to be deflating, giving up a goal in stoppage time when you're up
So
1-0
annoying.
in a game like that. So yeah, like obviously at first, like everybody was a little bummed, but I think I just remember looking around and everybody like clapping and telling everybody to keep their heads up, and like it was kind of this like, all right, we're gonna have to run more for 30 minutes. That was the main part, was you're gonna have to run more, but there was never this doubt that we were not going to win the game. And I think going into the huddle, we have Sonnet and Jess and Anne and Juan and everybody, almost like it wasn't motivational. It was just like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it.
All
And
business.
it was more like that. Yeah, I feel like. And I think, like I said, like we were talking about as a team after, like, it was more just about like, we're going to win this game. We just got to do more running to do it now. So
I love that. What a great mentality. I also think it's like hearing that takes me back. It's like sometimes when you are cold and you just had this deflating moment and you realize you have to run more, you don't necessarily feel like clapping and cheering each other on and being positive, but you like kind of just pull that out because you're like, this is what the team needs from me. I want to go curl up under a blanket and like rest, but like I have to just like pull this out of somewhere. And it just sounds like you guys have been able to do that over and over. Very, very all the way deep into the overtime, late in stoppage time of overtime, just as we're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be PK. This is going to be insane. Katie Stengel finds the back of the net. Can you talk us through your view of the goal and like what you saw and felt and experienced when Katie Stengel scored this goal?
I was actually just talking about this because I was like, it felt like a movie scene, like when everything's like slow motion, like games on the line, like you can hear the heartbeat. Like that's literally how I felt. Like I saw the ball go over me and I saw like Jaelin have that like super sick flick at the back heel. And then I just see Katie go to the ball and I swear it was like slow motion, like her going to it. And as soon as she hit it, all I saw was the crossbar. And I was like,
No.
if this just hit the crossbar and went out, like, oh my gosh. So, but then I obviously, like, when I saw I went in the goal, but it was like obviously dead silent in there. So in games like that, you're almost like, did we score? Like, did this happen? And then I just see like everyone going nuts. And I remember falling on the huddle, just having my arms on them. Like, I was like, thank you, Katie. Like, just like the relief that everybody felt. And we knew we had a couple minutes to see it out. But like, what a clutch moment and clutch player to be able to like do that in that amount of pressure and that angle and the finish. And so, and we were just so happy for her being able to do that for us. And it was just a moment that I won't forget.
That is so amazing. I hope you have another moment like that. You're playing Orlando next in Orlando. What do you think is the key for Gotham in this game, the semifinal? What do you think? I mean, maybe not necessarily tactically. I wouldn't want you to give away too much, but just to continue with this momentum that you guys have just built up this past week.
I think we got to approach this game just like we did the last. I think the mentality that we had going into this last game, it has to be the same this game. Just this laser focus and the belief that we can do it. When we control the game is when we play at our best and when we give ourselves the best chance to win. So I think for this game, with the quality that we have, controlling the game is going to be a huge part. And that's what we always talk about, is when we feel like we control both halves, that's when we feel like we've won the most. And so I think that's going to be super important. And obviously they have incredible players, and being able to manage those is going to be huge too. But the mentality piece, we've just proven to ourselves is the biggest part of it going into these games.
Yeah, I feel like something that has been coming up a lot recently on this podcast is the idea of a team's core identity and culture and how it kind of has to carry on through the years. This is true of the national team. This is true of club teams. And I know that a lot of your teammates weren't on the Gotham team in 2023 when they just barely made it into playoffs and they went ahead and won the championship. But I'm curious if that kind of identity of Gotham, if that kind of, core piece of the history of the club has carried its way into your locker room, into your team, and if that means something to you guys still.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think there's still players here that were on that team during that time. And I think just the culture of the club knowing anything's possible and just this like grit that this club has. Just never say die. I think that's just really instilled in us. And I think the players that they have come here also have that as part of their own mentality. And so I think that this collective just we're going to get it done grit doesn't matter how or who's betting against us, while also knowing that we have the talent and the quality to play very good soccer. And so I think those two things combined is so hard to play against for teams, and it's just making sure that we do that on that day.
Jaelin, my main takeaway from this is that Gotham is primed to continue this incredible run into playoffs. I feel like what I keep hearing you say is just that you have the right mentality. The adversity that you've been through has made you even stronger. And so I'm so excited to watch you guys this weekend take on Orlando in the semifinal. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been so fun to chat with you and kind of get this inside scoop on Gotham. So I'm going to be cheering for you guys. I'm so excited.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for listening. I feel like it's really unique that we get to speak to somebody right in the height of playoffs. So I was really, really excited that we had this opportunity to talk to Jaelin and to hear about really what's going on with Gotham right now. I'm really excited to watch them in the semifinals this weekend. Before we let you go, we've got our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. Each week we want to hear from you. So call and leave us a voicemail at 855-611-4050 and you could be featured on a future episode of Friendlies. Here's our caller this week.
Hi, Sam. My name is Molly, and I'm from Canton, Georgia. And I just have to say I am so excited about the new Atlanta NWSL team. It's going to be awesome to have an NWSL team in my backyard. The one question I have for you, though, is all of this expansion news has got me thinking about how fast the league is growing. So with so many teams now, and I assume more maybe joining, do you think the league will need to restructure in any way? Thanks. Love the pod. Bye.
Hi, Molly. Thank you so much for calling. I love this question. And I've been thinking about that myself as news of the Atlanta expansion team was just recently announced. They'll be joining the league in 2028. And I feel like there's so much to consider with this, from the risk of possibly diluting talent, which I'm actually not sure is a huge concern considering the quality of the rookie class this year, to the benefit of being in these huge markets and securing these really valuable expansion fees and valuations. I think there are some markets of concern right now that should maybe be optimized before the league continues to grow too much and kind of leaves them behind. I know that NWSL attendance was down slightly this year overall, but we're such a young league that these kinds of ups and downs are normal, and I don't think that that's cause for panic. In terms of restructuring, I think maybe eventually we'll do conferences, like we could have an East and a West. That could make sense at some point, but I definitely need a lot more education on the pros and cons of that. I feel like women's soccer is so unique to other sports leagues in the US. So using them, like using the MLS or the NFL or even the WNBA as an example, it only makes sense in certain cases to do that. We're such a big country, which calls me to think that conferences would make sense. But soccer has such a rich history globally that you're kind of balancing the importance of having that balanced schedule, playing everybody the same amount of times with the norms of American sports, the travel, the markets. So I'm definitely interested to learn more about this as our league continues to grow. But I was very excited to hear about Atlanta coming in. I think that's going to be a great market. And I also think that the new NWSL advisory board has a lot of people on it who are experienced with stuff like this, like what I would call sports experts. So I feel like that group has the potential to really help the league make the best decisions. Molly, thanks again for calling. Really excited that you're getting an NWSL team in your hometown. And that was our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. If you want to join us for this segment, the banana phone is open. You can give me a call anytime, 855-611-4050. Just leave a message, ask me a question, and you could be our next featured listener. Thanks to our friends at Verizon. Next week, we are heading to San Jose for our NWSL Championship live show. I'm so excited. We're going to be at the Glass House on Thursday, November 20th. The show is already sold out, but we have some guest announcements coming very soon, so I can't wait to see you all there. And if you're not going to make it in person, don't worry. The show will be streamed on our YouTube channel afterwards, so you'll get to watch it back. Thank you all so much for listening. And if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel or podcast feed. You can also check out our newsletter delivered to your inbox every Tuesday with all the news you need to know. Follow along with us across all socials and join us on Discord. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you soon.